says here, the meeting will come to order. This is a study session of the City of Ashland City Council on February 2nd, 2015. The first item up is 15 minutes of public input. And I have one form. Nobody else wants to speak? Okay. So that's Eric Sirotkin. Eric.
Thank you, John.
5 minutes, Mayor?
Yeah. And
Wait till it's up
Yeah, I just.
before it starts running there.
I'll hold my finger up on
so when you're ready, give your name and address,
Okay.
and then you're going to give them
Is that part of the 5?
1 minute warning.
Yeah.
Yes, it's part of the 5. But I mean, what bigger part can it be? Eric Sirotkin.
Let me get that down. Wait a minute.
Okay,
Okay.
go ahead.
I'm Eric Sirotkin. I'm from 2026 Ashland Line Road, Ashland, Oregon. If you could have one chance to speak to the world's most powerful political body, what would you say? When Václav Havel, the former political prisoner and then president and playwright of the Czech Republic, got an invitation to speak to a joint session of Congress, he spoke to them about the salvation of the human spirit lies nowhere else than in the human heart. He said, of our human world. He said, it is in the power to reflect, and it is in human responsibility. He told people that we have to be responsible for the state of the world. And he says, I am responsible for the state of the world, not only to the world, but for the world, as though I myself were judged for how the world would turn out. A culture of peace, you have materials on that. I had 5 minutes on a culture of peace. I'm going to skip that a little bit. But as you know, it's been the culture of peace has arisen out of more than just the absence of war. And it's going to mean something in your discussion different to each of you, and that's okay. And it's okay that it can be at times different to different people. But for us, it's mostly meant a way of life that solves problems through dialogue, works to balance and expand respectful relations, even when people disagree. Millions of people have signed a pledge to inculcate the culture of peace into their everyday lives. And so, an institutionalized framework for such a thing, this is where we believe you all can play a part and play an historic role. As a group of concerned citizens, we've engaged in a process not only intended to institute a culture of peace commission in Ashland, but we mean to model it. We know we could go to voters, get it approved, but as you told you in the packets, we want to work together to come up with something that works. And I believe it's in our collective wisdom to come up with something that works for everyone. And in our individual meetings that we held with most of you over the last month, we've worked hard to resist charging forward, learning to apply the very principles inherent in the culture of peace to our own process. We've listened deeply and reflected individually as a group on your suggestions and your wise input gleaned from years of working within city government. It's convinced me and all of us that we want the same thing. And so it's about commonality. Few disagree that we want to embody a culture of peace. Adrian Rich once said, we all go to sleep at night dreaming of a common language. In many ways, Ashland has a culture of peace. Those who gather at the Peace for Feast, the annual commemorations of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, mediation school programs, compassionate learning trainings, restorative justice circles. Local shows like Immense Possibilities help us listen and be more connected. We've been a member of the Global Mayors for Peace since 1998. So we are here to suggest that the quality of life business is in our livelihood, and that we have listened that there are ways to attract young people, that there are complications and limitations in the current commission process. So what do? We wish to hold off on a vote or permanent type of commission to form an independent Ashland culture of peace, representative of all the areas in the peace wheel in your materials: education, business, culture, science, law, the others. We want to show through a track record, have a liaison from city council work with this commission, in a separate commission, not a city commission. Establish a track record, have a one-year trial period to implement some of the visions of such a commission, but without the formal commission structure of the city. This will allow us to do, as Gandhi said, an experiment with truth. And it's our belief that while we need a more institutionalized format to this, that will come. So over the year, we can all see what a state of the culture of peace in Ashland report could be, how it can present constructive, non-judgment, and build relationships and understanding. We can hear many other things, but deeply believe that collectively, from the decades of experience here and our decades of working with a culture of peace, that we think that we can make this happen with a formal support of the city. And what I urge you to do is I have specific recommendations that relate to some of your concerns, that if you call on me for, or someone from our group for questions during your period, then I can describe a little more in detail a few things around how a memorandum of understanding with a separate organization could work. So I am going to wrap up and say thank you, and that is with this spirit that we move forward.
Thank you.
And I have copies of the full remarks that I'd like to hand out if that's appropriate.
Yeah, you can just give them to the assistant city recorder and she'll pass them around. Okay,
Thank you.
now we move to item 2 on the agenda, which is a look ahead review.
Just a couple of things to bring to your attention. One, Mr. Lohman's request, we've added an executive